What does LSU need to do today at Ole Miss to get a win?
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, well, thank you for making Locked On LSU your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check us out on YouTube as well. Same name, Locked On LSU. Hit that subscribe button. Goal is 3,000 subscribers by the Alabama game. We just have just over a month, so I know you can do it. I know we can do it. So let's get it 3,000 subscribers by Bama. All right, happy game day, everybody. Happy Saturday. LSU kicks off at 5 p.m. Central on ESPN in Oxford. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm having a very hard time trying to keep these new times straight. Like the 2:30 CBS kickoff not always being an SEC game kind of throws me off. Like this 5 p.m. ESPN game, kind of like a funky, weird time. So I'm just getting used to this, this new TV arrangement agreement with all of conference realignment. So I don't know if that's just me or what, but it's taken me a little bit to get used to the new TV schedule. But let's get into it. My 3 keys to victory today for LSU heading into Ole Miss. LSU currently a 2.5-point favorite at Ole Miss, but I think what's interesting, and I always, and this isn't foolproof, but I always like to think, what does Vegas know? Vegas always seems to be a little bit smarter than we are on most occasions. Sometimes I look at Alabama being favored by 6.5 against Texas, then getting blown out by double digits. Maybe Vegas didn't know anything there, but I do wonder when Vegas can be so fickle and when Vegas can be so dependent on the public, yet the numbers don't change. I wonder what's going on there because LSU opened as a 2.5-point favorite. LSU has stayed as a 2.5-point favorite, even though 80% plus of the money is being put on LSU minus 2.5. That would lead me to believe that maybe Vegas would want to change that spread a little bit, maybe make it LSU 3.5, maybe even 4.5, with all the money coming in on LSU. So it hasn't shifted. What does Vegas know there? I don't know. Maybe there's just not a whole lot of confidence in this, maybe not more confidence than there already exists in this LSU team. Maybe they don't want to put more eggs in LSU's basket. I don't know. Interesting. Also, it's not foolproof. It's Vegas. Vegas doesn't have a crystal ball. Vegas doesn't know the future. So we'll see. But let's get into it. My 3 keys to victory for LSU today. 1, very easy, very broad, very overarching term for what we need from LSU today. And that, defense. That's all I have. No specific area of the defense. No, super well thought out, super detailed, super layered kind of key. Simply just defense. And I'll break down the categories there. 1, it's the secondary. This secondary got absolutely cooked against Arkansas. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to change anytime soon because my question is how much of it is personnel and how much of it is scheme. I do think a good part of it is scheme because last week we saw so many big explosive Arkansas pass plays that really, kind of picked the secondary apart. I think a lot of it had to do with scheme since LSU defense was rushing so many and getting so much pressure on the quarterback, that which is a good thing. I'm all for that because I've said so many times, like, your secondary is not going to win you games. It's the men up front. It's the pressure that you get up on the quarterback. That's going to win you games. But KJ Jefferson could escape that pressure. 1, because he's fast, and 2, because he's massive. So it's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for a quarterback being able to get out of the pocket and to extend plays either with his legs or, like we saw with that 59-yard touchdown pass to Luke Haas, the tight end, that he can create plays with his arm as well. So it's the secondary. It's the secondary being able to hold their own. It's the secondary being able to stay sticky in coverage. And it's the secondary also not drawing those PI or holding calls that can really get you in a whole lot of trouble. The secondary is 1. The second thing is you need to get pressure on Jaxson Dart. Ole Miss's offense is strange. Ole Miss's offense is confusing to me. If you watch that game against Alabama, I don't know if you were like me, but at least I was thinking, okay, when are you going to turn it on? Okay, when are you going to open up that playbook? When are you going to do something a little bit different? When are you going to try and actually win this football game? Because Ole Miss just constantly was short screen pass, short check down to the running back, run up the middle. And then it was, gains of 2, 3, 4 yards here and there. It was incredibly conservative play calling. And with a play caller like Lane Kiffin, it's not really what you expect. You would expect Lane Kiffin to be pretty bold. You would expect Lane Kiffin to not, make those conservative play calls. So I don't know what was going on there. But last year, Ole Miss was top 5 in the country in explosive plays, and it kind of depends on what your definition of explosive plays is. I look at it as plays of 20 plus yards. So whether it's you define that as 16, whether you define that as 20, whether you define that as 25, being top 5 in the country in explosive plays, I mean that's big, that's massive. That's credit to your play calling, that's credit to your quarterback, and that's credit to your playmakers. Well, you've got the same play caller, you got the same quarterback, so why aren't you calling those same explosive plays? Why aren't digging a little bit deeper into the playbook and at least trying to get the ball downfield, at least trying to throw those Hail Marys, at least trying to throw those big passes 20, 30, 40 yards downfield? We didn't see that against Alabama. Let's go back to Ole Miss's offense last year again. Quinshon Judkins was freshman of the year in the SEC, and we know how stiff that competition was with Harold Perkins in an LSU uniform. Also in contention for SEC freshman of the year. That's how good Quinshon Judkins was for this team last season. Quinshon Judkins has yet to have a breakout day. Quinshon Judkins, his best day so far in the season was a 60-yard day against Mercer. He's been fairly quiet. 60-yard day against Mercer, 45 yards here, 50-something yards here. We haven't seen that massive run, game-breaking performance from Quinshon Judkins. And I'm going to say yet, because I think that Quinshon Judkins is poised and ready for a breakout game because he is just that talented. So the defense and what their job is today, I think it depends on what Ole Miss wants to show you. Because this LSU defensive line is going to have to get to the quarterback and stop the run. That's two things that I know that this defensive line can do. But if they don't try to run on you, well, then your job gets that much easier of just getting to the quarterback. And if Ole Miss, I'm going to do that so many times. If Ole Miss isn't going to try those explosive plays and throwing the ball downfield like we know that Jaxson Dart can do, well, is Ole Miss going to continue to try what didn't work against Alabama and beat you in the intermediate passing game and try and beat you with the dinks and dunks? Well, if Ole Miss takes the best two aspects of their offense away themselves in the run game and the big explosive pass game, and all that you need to do is try to not let Ole Miss beat you in the intermediate passing game, then I think all this defense needs to do is continue to get pressure on Jaxson Dart, force Jaxson Dart to try to get the ball out early, or force Jaxson Dart to try and, escape out of the pocket. And I don't think he's going to be successful in doing that. I mean, Jaxson Dart is not afraid to be bold. Jaxson Dart is not afraid to, get his hands a little bit dirty and, run up the middle or try to go one-on-one with a linebacker. I mean, we saw it so many times against Alabama, so many times that I was like, all right, Jaxson, I mean, like somebody's going to have to intervene here and say that you're going to get yourself killed. Like, stop doing that. Just slide. But he's the kind of quarterback that doesn't want to slide. He's the kind of quarterback that's not really in his DNA to maybe bail on a play early. So a roundabout way of saying and a long way of saying, I don't know what Ole Miss's offense is going to be today because it has the components and it has the makeup to be a more explosive and intimidating offense. It depends on what they want to be. But overall, no matter what this Ole Miss offense wants to be, a running offense, a passing offense, a dink and dunk kind of offense, the defensive line is going to have to be a force, both with getting to the quarterback and eliminating big chunk run plays. If you want to run it up the middle for a gain of 2 or 3 on every single down, be my guest because I trust this defense in stopping that game plan. But coming up next, my second key to the game to beating Ole Miss. All right, I want to tell you guys about Nutrafol because just a few months ago, I would say 6, 7, 8 months ago, I was noticing some thinning right around my forehead and my hair. And, I was putting my hair back in a ponytail and I'm thinking, look at all of these areas where my hair is so thin. It used to be so thick there. It used to be so much healthier, so much more voluminous. Like, what is going on here? I don't know if it's age or stress or environment or the shampoo that I was using, the diet that I have, not sure what it was, but I turned to Nutrafol to try and address some of that hair thinning and some of the hair that just wasn't very healthy. And I cannot recommend Nutrafol enough. Both men and women might think that losing their hair or hair thinning is inevitable, but you can take control of your hair's future with Nutrafol's science-backed hair growth supplements. Have them for both men and also for women. You don't have to accept the fact that you just are, that your hair is in a certain condition. You don't have to accept something that, hey, hair loss might be inevitable. You don't have to do that. Nutrafol is the number one dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting the root causes of thinning, such as stress, hormones, environment, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism through whole body health. So take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol, Nutrafol.com/men, MEN, and enter promo code Locked On College. That is Nutrafol.com/men, promo code Locked On College. All right. Well, thanks again for making Locked In LSU your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, college football season is here, and this season, Locked On is kicking up our coverage with Locked On College Football Kickoff Live. Every single Friday, Locked On will go live on every single college football YouTube channel, including Locked On LSU. And they'll cover playoff implications, the conference rivalry games, and go in depth like only Locked On can, including insight and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every single day. So you can find Locked On College Football Kickoff live every Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on any Locked On College YouTube channel. You will not want to miss it. Well, let's get into it. It is game day. It is Saturday morning, and LSU is in Oxford today taking on Ole Miss. Big time SEC West implications on the line in this game, especially in an SEC West that is so wide open. First was just defense. Like, get to the quarterback, stop the run game. Also, Brian Kelly did confirm that Omar Speights will play against Ole Miss. I'm not going to lie to you. I'd like to see a little bit more Whit Weeks than I'd like to see a little bit more Omar Speights. Whit Weeks got one of my game balls against Arkansas last week. I love Whit Weeks. I love the passion that he plays with. I love the fire that he plays with. And I love the maturity that he plays with. Being a true freshman, especially being on a defense that has such high expectations like an LSU defense might, especially the how shut down the defense needed to play at times last week against Arkansas, and they were able to play. Like I talked about that last week. 3 stops in the red zone where you made Arkansas kick a field goal versus getting in the end zone. I mean, that's the difference. And Whit Weeks was a big contributor on several of those plays. So we'll see. We'll see. This will be a big prove-it game for Omar Speights because I think that's one athlete's biggest concern or biggest nightmare is I leave with an injury and then my backup comes in and plays better than I did. So maybe Omar Speights comes out with a different kind of fire. Maybe Omar Speights comes out and says, look, you're not going to take my starting job away from me. We'll see. So Omar Speights will be available for the first time since the Grambling game. My second key, very simple, just like my first key, defense. My second key, Jayden Daniels. I sat down with Chris Gordy and Stephen Willis of Locked On Ole Miss earlier this week. So you can find that on your preferred podcast platform and on YouTube. And Chris asked me, if LSU wins, who are we talking about on Monday? And I'm going to say it's probably maybe like a cop-out answer considering he is the quarterback, but it's Jayden Daniels. And this is a game that Jayden Daniels is going to have a big day, both in the air and with his legs. It's going to be the key for every single team on LSU's schedule. It's going to be one of their keys to victory is going to be contain the quarterback. Don't let Jayden Daniels beat you with his legs. Now, that's what makes Jayden Daniels so impressive is that every single defense except for Mississippi State, is going to want to stop the quarterback, is going to want to take Jayden Daniels' legs away from this LSU offense, but he still, for the most part, finds a way to make his legs effective. So we saw that against Arkansas, is that they wanted to take Jayden Daniels' cape off early in the game, and really, for the most part, they were able to. That LSU offense just could not get anything moving early in the first half against Arkansas. So for me, it's if Ole Miss takes Jayden Daniels' legs away, can he still continue to win this game with his arm? And I think that second half against Arkansas proved to you that yes, he can. If Jayden Daniels needs to drop back and deliver airmail to either Malik Nabers or Brian Thomas, LSU's offense can beat you that way. I've said it all week long. LSU's offense has the makings of being elite. What I don't want to see is constant runs up the middle on 1st and 10. I'm over it. I'm tired of it. Yes, I know the idea of you call a run up the middle on 1st down, you pick up 3. Okay, 2nd and 6, another run at the middle, maybe you pick up 4. All right, well, now you're looking at 3rd and 2. That's a very manageable situation, and you can just kind of eat away and carve away at the at getting down the field. But let's say if your field position isn't great, let's say you've got a long field to work with, well, you're not going to be able to get into the end zone simply by running the ball up the middle. I want to see what we saw against Mississippi State. I want to see a Jayden Daniels that is accurate. I want to see a Jayden Daniels that's communicating with his receivers. And I want to see a Jayden Daniels and a Mike Denbrock that's willing to call those big plays, and a Jayden Daniels that is willing to send it downfield. They tried it in the first half against Arkansas, and really for the most part, either the receivers were dropping balls or Jayden Daniels was just off. There were several calls where Arkansas secondary was pretty sticky right on the receivers, and Jayden Daniels would deliver a ball over the shoulder of where the defender was. You can't do that. You're setting up your receivers kind of up to failure. You're setting your receivers up to not be able to catch that ball. So I want to see better communication between Jayden Daniels and the receivers. And I want to see a big day from Jayden Daniels. And I frankly, I don't know what that looks like, because it could look like any number of things. It could look like a day where Jayden Daniels rushes for over 100 yards, and that's really all you need to do offensively for the most part. Is if this is a run day kind of game, then and it's working, then fine, run the football. If they're taking the run away from you, then then Jayden Daniels could have a 350, 400-yard passing day. Whatever is working, just continue to do that. And that sounds so simple, right? That sounds so easy. It sounds like, hey, I could be an offensive coordinator. Just do whatever is working. But I think that the difference between the LSU offense this year and the LSU offense from last year is you have serious weapons and serious threats, both in the air and on the ground. So if one's not working, you can still win a football game by relying on the other. Now, I think this LSU offense is at its best when it's two-dimensional. I think this LSU offense is, more so firing on all cylinders when it can use the run to set up the pass. But I think we saw last week that you can get stuff done one way or another, in the air or on the ground. And I think, if I'm going to talk about offense, I'm going to say Jayden Daniels is a big key here. I'm going to say key 2B is Logan Diggs. He is the workhorse. If he can make things uncomfortable at the line of scrimmage for Ole Miss's defense, that's going to be a huge key for LSU's offense as well. Final key to victory coming up next. Passion, drive, and patience, that is what brings home the winning trophy, and it is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices that you want, it is easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right. Well, thanks again for making Locked in LSU your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. My first two keys to victory: defense. Stop the run, get pressure on the quarterback because the secondary simply is not going to be able to win you very many football games. So it falls on the guys on the front seven. The second is a big day from Jayden Daniels. Run game, pass game, a little bit of both, one or the other, doesn't matter. Need a big day because I think this Ole Miss offense can put up some points, but so can you. So can you. All right, my third key, it might seem really easy, it might seem really simple and really obvious, and it is simply what I call road bugaboos and eliminating the road bugaboos. Your first game on the road at Mississippi State, we saw Will Campbell get pulled because of the penalties that he was committing. It's the false starts is one road bugaboo or dumb penalties like that. Line of scrimmage pre-snap penalties, offsides, false start penalties, missed field goals, and miscommunications. That can come when you are in an unfamiliar and raucous or loud environment. Now, let's be honest, Vaught Hemingway isn't the loudest or most intimidating environment across the Southeastern Conference. Call me a hater, if you will. It's the truth. It's a fact. It's no Tiger Stadium. It's no Bryant-Denny. It's no Neyland. It's no, name the stadiums that we all know that are intimidating and loud. Vaught Hemingway doesn't necessarily fall into that category, but it's still a road game nonetheless. It's still going to be a sold out crowd. It's going to be a loud and it's going to be an incredibly drunk crowd. So eliminating those road bugaboos, the false starts, the one that really killed you against Mississippi State on that first drive when you were at the goal line, 4th and 1. Well, then you get called for a false start. 4th and 6 now, then you're forced to kick it instead of going for it. That cost you 4 points. Now, didn't end up being a difference in a game, as we saw. It was a complete blowout. But in the moment, I didn't know that. You didn't know that. I had no idea that game wouldn't have come down to potentially really missing and needing those 4 points. Let's against Arkansas, for example. Arkansas's pre-snap penalty. There was a pre-snap penalty that Arkansas had in the red zone, and that pushed them back. And that's one factor that forced them to kick instead of getting in the end zone. And that could have been the difference between a win and a loss for Arkansas. This game is a game of inches. So don't shoot yourself in a foot. In a game that I think very well could be very close, I really have a hard time picking this game because, like I said, with Gordy and Steven, I was like, I think this game LSU could blow them out like 41-14, or it could be 34-31. Kind of like a repeat of what we saw against Arkansas. So I really don't know because I don't know which Ole Miss offense we're going to get today. But don't shoot yourself in the foot. I know playing on the road is hard. I know playing on the road in the SEC West is hard. But don't shoot yourself in the foot and don't make your job harder than it needs to be by committing some of those road bugaboos, as I like to call them. Again, eliminate the dumb penalties. Don't let special teams hurt you. Doesn't need to be a greatest strength. Just don't let it hurt you. So defense, Jayden Daniels, eliminate the road bugaboos. Those are my 3 keys to success for LSU against Ole Miss today. Well, enjoy the games. I'll have a full game breakdown on tomorrow's edition of Locked on LSU.